Let's bring an expert, so please welcome Karl.
新教电对了 Karl Weaver， 各位来宾，欢迎参加今天晚上的演讲。我叫 Karl Silas Chinese， 我叫卡尔。谢谢你今天晚上参加我的那个手机支付的演讲。Namaste, Shushwagatam, Kasehe. So I am a wireless market mobile device specialist for the Far East. I've been involved in bringing in cutting-edge mobile technologies to the supply chain for manufacturing of cutting-edge mobile technologies, starting from mobile payment, mobile device security, eSIM, iSIM, dual roots of trust security, IoT, and blockchain technologies. I just returned from a 2-year stint working for a Shanghai startup in Singapore, 2001 to 2003, to integrate the Internet of Things with blockchain to create a green energy data network. Quite interesting here now. And I've been in the Northwest since '93. I am not from the Northwest, I'm from the Boston suburbs, Quincy, if you've ever been to the East Coast. We speak fast, we have kind of an accent, I've been told. One American actually asked me what country I was from. All right, so while still working in Singapore, I visited Ho Chi Minh City, which is also called Saigon, and in 2023. And I thought that I would do this public speaking presentation because the Vietnam of right now is not the Vietnam that you know from the past. It's evolving rapidly because of something called China +1 strategy. There's a lot of manufacturing that's supply chains that are moving from Greater China or China, Taiwan, South Korea to Vietnam, India, Indonesia, and other parts of Southeast Asia. So what we're looking at is not a Chinese century, it's actually a Pacific century where all of the Far East will play, I feel, a critical role. And so I felt that Vietnam needed this dedication, and when I visited Vietnam last year, it was amazing. It felt to me like Taiwan in the 1990s, quite honestly. Anyway, my presentation is called Vietnam's Remote Proximity Mobile Payments Rise in 2024. So, when we're talking about a mobile payment, I was amazed that an engineer actually said to me, hey, is this Apple Pay safe and secure? I really wanted to hit him over the head with the iPhone, because an engineer should understand that security comes from semiconductor chip manufacturing and what we call secure enclaves. Okay? The Apple iPhone is a very, very secure device. Android is a very secure device, and so is the Samsung smartphone. Now, this technology is also filtering down to Chinese companies as well. There are 3 or 4 well-known Chinese companies that have the same technology. And they're all vying for a piece of the pie in Vietnam because the supply chain is moving there. And it's faster moving into Vietnam than moving into India because Vietnam is meant to be an export or a re-export market for ICT or electronics components traveling to the rest of the world. So it's not meant to stay there. It's meant to be re-exported, and that's why there's lots of Taiwanese, mainland Chinese, South Korean, even Singapore companies there. So proximity versus remote payment. So proximity basically means you're at the point of sale of a payment, let's say Starbucks, and you need to pull out your smartphone. You could also pull out your debit or credit card, but you need to pull out your smartphone to do what we call an NFC. That's not National Football Conference, by the way. Near field communications payment. Now, with proximity, actually Apple has been doing that in their stores. With NFC, but also with Bluetooth, low energy, so BLE they call it. And then of course there's QR codes, but QR codes don't work very well when you're in a subway or when you're on a bus and you need to scan to make a payment. It doesn't work very well. Also, QR codes are not very safe and not very secure. Proximity payments, near-field communications, remote payments, that's where you have your online banking. That's where you do things more online with the phone, or even your smartwatch, or a fitness band. I had a fitness band when I was living and working in Singapore, and it was a Google Fitness Band Charge 5, very nice product, and I tied it or paired it to my debit card. And I was able to basically go on the subway, go on the buses, at any point of sale, and basically do the payment directly. Now, if you have an Apple iPhone, it basically does the same thing. But to summarize it, Vietnam is still evolving as a mobile payment ecosystem, and I'll get into that, and I'll get into also the problem with mobile device security. I'll explain, I'll try to, and if I don't, you can remind me. Anyway, you have remote payment adoption. If you look at the chart here, you've got proximity and remote payments. Basically, if you think that they're just using, I mean, they are using cash in Vietnam, but because people are very evangelical about the technology, because a lot of the manufacturing from China, Taiwan, and South Korea, the factories are there. The R&D has gone there. Joe Biden went to Vietnam last year with, I believe, 12 semiconductor manufacturers. The NVIDIA guy was the most vocal, actually, when he was in Vietnam. So the semiconductor manufacturers are going there. Now, sorry, another little short story. In 2008, I was hired by Gemalto. Maybe you don't know who that is. It's not an Italian ice cream, by the way. I was hired by Gemalto to be the person to crack the chicken and egg. I basically brought contactless mobile NFC technology to China, Taiwan, South Korea for a French company. They were bought by Thales, another bigger company, a few years ago. So I brought the mobile payment technology to China, and I also brought something called the TEE, Trusted Execution Environment. So mobile payment, mobile security, 5 years. So when I started looking at Vietnam, I realized, wow, there's like 20 different mobile wallets from local manufacturers, local developers. I don't think they have proper security. However, Samsung is manufacturing there, and Apple is, at least their phones, you can buy Apple phones in Vietnam. Samsung, all their smartphone manufacturing is going on in Vietnam right now. And of course, Google makes a phone, by the way. And they're also manufacturing in Vietnam. So I think India might be the long-term aspect growth market for the next 10 years. But right now it's Vietnam because the import-export, there's no bureaucratic issues with taking the technology, manufacturing it, and re-exporting it immediately. No problem there. All right, back here. So you have modes of transactions. You can read all that information right there. I'm going to move on. Vietnam's mobile e-wallet, so the rise of the super wallet. Honestly, I never heard of this Momo wallet. I've never heard of it before I went to Vietnam, but then I did the research while I was in Vietnam, and I watched people doing it. It's quite big. This is the biggest wallet. So, all right, let's say I'm going to Vietnam right now, and I have to figure out how I'm going to do that. Well, your PayPal. PayPal's there. Also, Alipay and WeChat Chat Pay. If you're Chinese, you might want a Chinese interface with your mobile wallet app. Those are also quite important super apps in the Chinese world. And then the local side, you've got Momo, Zalo, and another one called Viettel. So those are all local wallets. I'll show you in another slide. This is quite a bit. There might be fees and exchange rates when you're converting with your foreign smartphone to make a payment. And merchant acceptance, you have to check. But you usually see a QR code or you see a sticker with Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and or Alipay, WeChat Pay. And you will see that, or even Apple Pay. You will see the stickers for the store that's selling products. Mobile wallet is a digital wallet, and it's actually more of an online payment, but they do accept barcode as well. So we move forward. So this is just a smattering of the wallet providers in Vietnam. It's actually quite a lot. It might be even more than here in the United States. And so how do you maximize proximity payments with e-wallets in Vietnam? Well, okay, so you have to scan the QR code. You have to scan the QR code. For NFC payments, they call it tap to pay. I don't like tap because you don't have to tap. NFC, which I brought to the Chinese world, is within 4 centimeters from the reader to your phone. You don't have to touch it. Some say you can get 10 centimeters. It's 3 to 4 centimeters. And it works at 13.56 megahertz frequency band. It's quite secure with encryption. Now, NFC, you tap the post terminal, up comes your mobile wallet, you pay with your mobile wallet. That's Apple, Google, Samsung. It basically works the same way. Online shopping. This is where you might want to pay your water bill, your electric bill in Vietnam, any kind of bill. Maybe your visa, maybe your visa going into another country. You might want to use that. So online shopping is also very, very popular, and it's becoming more dominant than people believe. It's actually quite dominant. People want to do these kinds of payments. Here's some well-known e-wallet apps in Vietnam, and here are the vendors. There's quite a lot. Let me move on. Online versus offline. Well, what do you mean, Carl? Online versus offline? Well, online simply means you have connectivity on your smartphone to make a mobile payment. In this case, you will have a SIM card in your smartphone. The SIM card actually has very important security. The Apple iPhone manages mobile payments very different than Google phone. And also Samsung's phone also manages it a little bit different. It's the difference between using cloud-based type security, and with Apple it's not using cloud-based type security per se. It's actually the NXP's NFC controller chip with Apple's wallet, and it's encrypted and it's all inside the smartphone. It's a very high level of security. I'll get into it in a minute. But again, you've got NFC, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay. They're all in Vietnam. Security payments with high secure, often tokenization, encryption, biometric authentication. These are all very, very important because could be a hacker sitting right next to one of you right now. I'm not a hacker. I guarantee you. Anyway, I gave a presentation in Hong Kong 2013 before leaving after 5 years bringing payments and security. And I said to the people in Hong Kong, the crowd, I said, you have zero security. And people are trying to hack your data, and you have social hacks, phishing, all kinds of things. So it is very important. Now, offline is a little bit different. Offline just means that you can make the payment with the phone, right? But it won't register until you go back into the connectivity. Now, the cool thing about NFC, Near Field Communications, not National Football Conference, but Seahawks are that direction, just where anybody wants to go see. NFC works with induction, so you don't need to have the, let's say you're in the subway system goes out, or the point of sale terminal or turnstile is not working. It doesn't matter. The NFC will still register, and you can get through, and the transaction will work because NFC works on induction between a master and a slave chip. All right, let's move forward. This is Visa's viewpoint. Visa is salivating over the Vietnamese market because of all the wallet providers. For them, they'll work with any wallet provider because they provide the four-point type of clearing payment mechanism that a credit card usually uses, debit card as well. So you can see what's going on here. It's tremendous. Vietnam has got to be the 6th most popular mobile payment market in Asia. That's pretty good. They're using things like buy now, pay later, and all these different acronyms, real-time payment. That's just a quick explanation. Now, when using credit card or cash in Vietnam, what do I use? Credit card? What do I use? Cash? Well, there's people that drive by and steal your wallet, so you need to be a little bit careful. It's just petty crime. There's no real dangerous crime going on in Vietnam. When I went there, I was quite amazed. Saigon is a pretty interesting place. I recommend a visit. How cash-centric is Vietnam? Well, as you can see, if you're using a taxi, I recommend you use Grab, which is a mobile app out of Singapore, and they have a big office in Vietnam. I use Grab taxi and a Grab. Get on the back of the motorcycle, and Grab driver will take you. I used both of those. It was cool. So you can use a credit card. Convenience stores, yes. Temples, maybe not. Public transportation. So Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh are working on subway systems. It's a little bit slow. It's kind of like our subway transit, I think. When will we get past Mercer 100? I don't know. Soon. So they say. Soon. Now, this NAPAS is the payment card mechanism for Vietnam. You must work through the payment card mechanism for Vietnam. That's all the security and also the standardization of a mobile payment, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a smartwatch, or even a debit or credit card. You have to have a standards organization. Now, there is something called MasterCard, well, there's a global standard as well. This is interesting. I contacted some people from all of these organizations, and I've been talking to them about the growth of Vietnam and their wallets. And I think that they are salivating to do more in Vietnam. Unfortunately, there was recently a banking scandal. I don't know if you know, but it was a big banking scandal. But that doesn't, and it hasn't detracted from the society, the consumers, continuing to use mobile payment with their smartphones and even smartwatches. So, but all three, Samsung Pay, Apple Pay, of course, and GPay or Google Pay, these are all popularly used right now in Vietnam. It's quite exciting. As is actually happening all over Asia and here in the United States. So let me ask you a question. How many are using your smartphone to make a payment now? That's not enough, guys. It's more secure than a credit card, actually. Okay, I don't mean to put you on the spot there, but Apple Pay, Starbucks support Vietnam. Yeah! So if you have your jitters for coffee, you want to go to Vietnam because they're the largest exporter of coffee on the planet. I thought it was Colombia, but no, it's Vietnam. I don't know why, but it's Vietnam. Every corner you'll see a place where you can get regular coffee, latte, and they've got something called egg coffee, which is quite interesting, worth a try. But also, Apple is partnering with Starbucks. Actually, Google is as well, and Samsung. Samsung has been in Vietnam more than a decade, manufacturing smartphones. They've almost completely divested from the Chinese market. And so you can see if you want to use your smartphone or smartwatch in Vietnam, you can. As I mentioned, when I was in Singapore, I used a Fitbit Charge 5, very nice, by Costco, best place to buy at Costco. And I was able to basically carry things and still input a PIN code. So you have to input a PIN code when you're at the point of sale. You input the PIN code will stay for 5 to 10 minutes, and you're able to get into a subway or a taxi or just a point of sale and make a payment just from your wrist. And this is probably something that you might say, Karl, I've been doing this for 10 years. Yes, you have. But I've been doing it with a fitness band. It only cost me about $130. So you don't have to have a smartphone, you can have a fitness band. And I actually feel that, and by the way, Garmin is also there. So sports aficionados, Garmin is there too. Garmin has lots of cool sports fitness bands. And Google Wallet, Google Pay, and Fitbit, they're all there. Apple Pay, of course, is there. Fitness, when I was pushing eSIM technology, I was trying to figure out the low-hanging fruit to push this technology. And I actually visited Apple in 2016 in Cupertino. So there are two reasons to buy a fitness or a smartwatch. The first is fitness, or it might be. The second is for the luxury aesthetics. And when I was working I worked for a bunch of French companies. When I was working for French, I said, you have to be careful because the Apple iWatch can displace your French luxury watch market. And they said, Mr. Weaver, no. I said, hell yes. Fast forward, that is what's happening. But the other one is the payment aspect. It's quite convenient on the wrist to make a payment, and it's pretty secure on your wrist. So those are the reasons. Let me move forward. We are basically at the end. Here's my summary. Vietnam's mobile payment market, it's rapidly expanding in 2024. Due to Apple, Samsung, Google, they're pushing this. They're moving and they're pushing this. And they're actually even investing in semiconductor manufacturing and R&D in Vietnam. And the Vietnamese government is helping with many types of projects. Momo, Zalo, Viettel, these are some of the players, but PayPal, which you probably all know. No Venmo, I don't think. PayPal, Alipay, and WeChat Pay, they're all there. And they're using a combination of NFC, QR codes, and these digital wallets. But there's still an issue of security. Now, let me explain. If you have a mobile app on your smartphone, especially if it's an open operating system smartphone, you don't have much security because a hacker can infiltrate that. Now, if you have a crypto wallet, it's even worse. It's even worse. 15 minutes, your funds can be stolen. So it's very, very important that you have, or you do the research on the crypto wallet or the regular mobile wallet with your payment credentials that you use. That's very, very important. And I feel that many of these Vietnamese wallet providers, I don't believe they have the correct level of security that Apple, Samsung, and Google have. I could be wrong, but that's my viewpoint. Also, finally, with all the smartphone assembly, R&D, manufacturing that's going on in Vietnam, my humble opinion is Vietnam is one of those countries that will absolutely look at manufacturing its own smartphone. Well, why do I say that? Well, did you guys know that Vietnam VinFast is actually manufacturing electric vehicles? There's a little bit of a sensitivity with Chinese electric vehicles coming into the United States, but VinFast is manufacturing electric vehicles. You can buy them in an LA warehouse, store them in an LA warehouse. I don't know about the quality, you have to determine that, but they're also setting up a manufacturing facility in North Carolina in 2025. So this is something to realize. Well, what are we really saying here? What we're really saying is that Vietnam is on that road to design, innovate on their own, and they will make they're actually making smartphones now for others. Who's to say they can't make it for themselves? It's innovation, it's creativity. I believe it will happen. So, thank you. 谢谢你. Come on, Raniel. My Vietnamese is still working on that. I am the Chinese mobile payment industry rainmaker, now pivoting to Vietnam. I will be at the CTA, Mobile World Congress. That's the 世界移动大会 for you in the crowd. And that's the GSMA, and that will be on October 8th to 10th. I will be there evangelizing. One of the things I'm very good at, a God-given skill, even though I'm Bostonian with Italian-Irish heritage, I'm bilingual in Chinese. I've been helping many, many technology companies to evangelize the technology. I learned how to harness the power of Asian and Western social media in order to do public speaking. Hence, I'm always capturing my public speaking presentations to video. Always, always, whenever you're giving a speaking gig, that we capture the video. I believe that's the end of my presentation, and I guess I'll take questions.
Just one question, because we're running over time. So one question, and then you can talk to Karl after. So it better be the very best question. All right, there's two guys who really want to do it, so we'll do two questions, but we need to make the answers.
If it's quick.
Make the answers quick.
I got you, sir. What's your question?
Karl, so we spent a lot of time today to talk about EVs in the future. Do you think that the Kai OS ecosystem is going to be the other third player to be able to expand the mobile payments and how much hardware cheap enough?
So I do know a little bit about the Kai OS. I've heard about the Kai OS. I haven't delved into it in the past, let's say, 2-3 years, but I do remember this operating system. I think any operating system, if you can scale and identify yourself with a hardware manufacturer, then you can basically standardize and get more branding for it. You see all the wallets in Vietnam, right? How many are going to survive? I don't know. You have to tie your wallet to hardware to keep the security. That's my answer.
It is hardware. It's a sub-brand technology.
We should chat later. You had a question?
Did so I know the U.S. Mobile documents, right, or MPLs or whatever, are increasing like their adoption rate. Like California, right, offers mobile driver's license. Are there any similar initiatives in Vietnam, and if so, do they combine with your mobile license?
Good, very good question. How do I explain this? If you know the smart card industry, for more than almost 20 years, they've been trying to get your passport. By the way, it's in the U.S. passport, but not being used. It's being used in Singapore. His question is, by the way, did you know that Apple Wallet now supports California driver's license in like 7 other states? Washington State, hey, you guys awake? Hello. So, it's already on. Go and look at your Apple phone. You'll see that there's 7 states now supporting the national ID card. That means you can get into the get past Homeland Security because it's a validated slave people. It's basically something that should have happened a long time ago, but now it's happening. But it's only going to happen on very secure platforms like Apple Pay, Android Pay, and I think Samsung Pay, because Samsung Pay also has pretty good security. So I'm not sure if I answered your question about it's happening in the United States. It's happened in Asia, and it's also happened in Europe for quite some time. You know, the smart card industry was, the Americans invented semiconductor technology, but they didn't invent the smart card technology. It comes from the French, Germans, and the Dutch, actually. And they all have those secure things for their national identity. And I think it's Lithuania, actually, was one of the first countries to do this more than like 15 years ago. So, yeah, we're laggards. You know, we boast ourselves here in Seattle. We get all these great companies. What are we doing on the smart card side of this? At least Apple is doing good things. Did I answer your question?
Pretty close. So, like, what's the adoption rate in Vietnam? If they're like,
No, that's a third question.
No. 40%. 40%.
So you guys can talk a little bit more.
40%.
40%.
All right. Hey, Carl.